Have you ever known someone who simply can't stop talking, or they never stop talking, or they're quiet for quite a while, or at least a bit at the beginning of an exchange, and you ask them a question, and then all of a sudden they're off to the races, right? And you're just like, you can't get a word in edgewise. 5 minutes later, they're still blabbing. 10 minutes later, I've, like you, I've had this. I've had and it made me think, why do narcissists talk so much? So I started to dig in on that. I wanted to share what I found out. It's narcissists talk a lot, not because they enjoy conversation. It's not that they're enjoying the conversation. It actually goes a lot deeper than that. Talking is one of the primary ways that narcissists maintain psychological control and emotional control over their environment. Most people think of conversation as an exchange. It's the word is discourse. Discourse comes from the Greek di, meaning two. You speak, and then I speak, and then then you speak. You say something, and then I say something. That's conversation. That's discussion. Two people are discussing something. With narcissists, a lot of the times I've discovered in my experience, it is a soliloquy. They're on stage with the floodlight on them. The stage light is on them, and they're giving you some big 45-minute thing. It's enough to drive you nuts. It's enough to make you stop as you're reaching for the phone and saying, actually, maybe I won't make that phone call. Maybe I won't call whoever it is, that narcissist that you and I know. Maybe I'll figure this one out on my own without involving them, right? Here's what I discovered. A narcissist sees conversation as a performance, right? Here's what happens. You feel the need, like, I got to share that. Something just happened, or something I just thought of, or I've been meaning to contact the narcissist I know, the narcissist you know, and just communicate some information. So you see them, maybe you live under the same roof, or you pick up the phone, you're going to talk to them. No sooner are the words "hello" out of your mouth, "Hi, how you doing, Bill?" Then Bill is, like a faucet in the kitchen. You ever go to your kitchen faucet and you turn the water on full blast? Well, there's Bill. Bill's just gushing out like the kitchen sink, right? Or the bathroom sink, or the shower tub. Full blast. Here it comes. There goes Bill. Bill's off to the races, folks. Bill will be back much later in the show. And you just think, how on earth does this happen? All I did was call them or stop them and, hey, Sam, I got to tell you something. Mary, I just have something small and innocuous to tell you. And I'm getting flooded out. Suddenly I'm like an audience of one for your soliloquy. You're doing Macbeth on stage. Performance, right? Performative. So, it's an amazing thing to have happen. The focus was you delivering what you wanted to tell them, but suddenly the focus changes. It's now all about them, right? Everything always comes back to them. They twist and they mangle sentences. They like those long balloons. You ever seen like a circus clown and the kids will be out there and they'll take these long balloons, they'll blow them up, long balloons, and they'll twist them. And all of a sudden, there's like a poodle, it's the shape of a dog, and he gives the toy thing to the kid. That's what narcissists do with your spoken communication. They take your words and they twist them all up like that, and they get everything going back to themselves. So why does this happen? And why does it happen so effortlessly? They do it without even, a backward glance. They don't care that you're here too, and you're part of this, and this is your time, and your time is valuable. None of that registers. I've said about narcissists many times, the lights are on, but nobody's home. They don't care, right? It happens because narcissists don't simply like attention. As you know, narcissists need attention. Narcissists crave attention. And everybody likes some attention, of course. Oh, okay, we know, a little pat on the back, whatever, acknowledgement, sure. But narcissists need it. They need attention like you and I need oxygen, right? Attention for a narcissist functions like psychological oxygen. Without an audience, even an audience of one, you and me, their carefully constructed identity begins to wobble. They don't feel so good because there's nobody around for them to blab to. There's nobody around to hold up a mirror and remind them what they are, that's what they constantly need, because they don't know who they are from themselves. They have no inner life. Everything for them is on the exterior. So if everything for me is on the exterior, then I'm going to be going to the exterior to try to fill myself up. That's why every morning I've said, every morning they wake up and they're empty. So they have to go out and they have to try to fill themselves with activity, other people, doing things. And it's an external focus in a world that's, not really designed. It's not designed at all to fulfill us. No matter what you get, no matter how much success, put that word in quotes, you get from this world, none of it fills you up. You can't find meaning on the exterior. That's what our channel talks about. That's what the happiness habit is your ability to start living from yourself, self-observation. You live from yourself. You go through your day in a state of observing yourself in action. That fulfills you. That satisfies you. Awareness satisfies. Narcissists have zero self-awareness. None. That's why in India, the good people of India call narcissists, and they have for centuries, they've called them hungry ghosts, the hungry ghosts. So this endless talking, endless blabbing, think what it actually does. It controls the pace of the conversation. It controls the topic. It controls what you and the narcissist are going to talk about. It controls who gets the attention. Them. They're feeding. The narcissist is communicating with you, talking to you, talking at you. They're feeding you. You are nourishing them with your attention, and the fact that then they can go, this is the performative part. Oh, now I get to be, whoever they are in your life, whatever role they play in your life. Now they're saying, oh, now I get to be Jack's fill in the blank, Jack's neighbor, Jack's friend, Jack's mom. Okay. My dearly departed mother, my adoptive mother, the lady who adopted me with her husband when I was about a year old. Not blood, because were different, but she couldn't stop talking. She was a narcissist. Not a bad one, but she was a narcissist, self-absorbed to the extreme. And I've always said narcissists shouldn't forget raising kids. They shouldn't be allowed anywhere near children. In a perfect world, they really shouldn't. But there are, this world is teeming with narcissists. They are legion. So, good luck ever enacting any kind of a rule like that. The person who's doing all the talking becomes the center of all the attention, the center of gravity. That's why silence to these types can be so uncomfortable. They hate silence. They hate it. Why? Because silence leaves room for other people to chip in, to chime in. They don't want that happening. Silence allows a moment for other people to think, to speak. Silence allows reality to appear, which they hate. Narcissists abhor reality. They can't stand reality. They spend their lives pushing reality back. That's why narcissists, toward the end of their life, most of the time, they have very difficult. The physical the passing of them is very difficult. The way they die is very troubling for them because physical death is reality coming home and saying, "Hey, you're coming with me." They can't. They've spent decades pushing reality away, and all of a sudden, reality, the Grim Reaper's knocking on your door. That's why narcissists, as they age, they freak out. They can't handle. They do not die well at all. And there's a topic for another talk that we'll end up doing. So when you ask them a question and you say, "What time did you get home last night?" or whatever, maybe you went out to dinner or you went to a party. I don't know. What time did you get home? Instead of just saying, "Oh, around 6, around 8, around 10, whatever." They can't say that. You get a 15-minute story that could go on for an hour if you let it. And you know that, and you know people who are doing this. You hear every tiny little detail. You hear every nuance of every little thing, every little detail, like a jeweler looking at a gem with tweezers and a monocle, right? They look at every facet, every angle. They look at that gem. That's how they approach conversation. I'm going to squeeze every drop of juice out of this lemon that I can get. I'm telling you, these people, it's exhausting. They don't stop. They keep blabbing. They can't stop because it's like they're oxygenating. They're finally getting some attention, and you're giving it to them, right? You and me are doing it. So, from the narcissist's perspective, something important is happening. What's happening is they're not merely pushing out information; they're building a world. They're enacting. They're shoring up their false sense of reality. They're trying to get everything right in their head, And in the comments, write down what you think about all this too. I really want to hear. But write down what you think is going on because, figuring these people out is something else. I mean, talk about an all-day sucker, right? An all-day lollipop. That would take you all day to figure these people out. But they thrive in a world in which they are the central character. They are the expert. They are the authority. They are the conquering hero. Or if they're not the conquering hero, they are the poor, pathetic, picked on victim, right? You'll notice this with your narcissist. And they are the person that everybody should be paying attention to. So conversation with these narcissists is not really about communication. The conversation is about them maintaining their world. And that's how they do it. That's how they maintain their reality. Because their reality is completely, horribly false. Completely false. How could a reality in which they, or me, or you, or anybody is the absolute center of the entire universe? That doesn't make any sense at all, because that's not true. That's not real. That's not what is. That's not reality, but that's their reality. That's the reality that they're trying to shore up and keep together. The fact that they're the center of everything. So you really got to scratch your head and say, man, you are out on a 3-day pass. You are certifiable. You are nuts. And a narcissist, they are the last people to ever think that the great magnificent them would be the ones who need professional help. They're the first people that need professional help. They need to go lay on somebody's couch for a long time and get it all out, and maybe somehow learn how to mature themselves emotionally, but they can't. They're emotional toddlers in adult bodies for the most part, is what they are. And along with the excessive blabbing is they can't hear you. I remember, all the narcissists that I've known, and I had long-standing relationships with these people, men that I knew as I was a young man growing up. My friend Ray, he was a narcissist, but he wasn't a bad one. But Ray couldn't shut up. Half the time, though, it was like entertaining. I found Ray very entertaining, and it didn't bother me. But after a while, after years, he's my friend and everything, I'd see him. But then it starts to wear on you. You're just like, are you ever going to shut up? Like, ever? Because I've already heard that story 111 times about your divorce. I've already heard that story from A to Z. You filled me in on that one many, many times. And then about 15 years later, my friend Terry, same thing. Man, Terry was fantastic. I dug him. I loved that man like a brother. And he was older than me, about 17 years older than me. Terry taught me a lot, but he was another narcissist, and he couldn't stop talking. Terry would fill in all the blanks. If Terry's was in my truck and we're heading out to go do something, run to Home Depot or go work on something, there was not going to be a dull moment with Terry in the truck. Not a chance. Not a chance. But they don't listen. And they don't listen. They don't hear you, right? Listening requires curiosity. Narcissists have no curiosity about you. They don't care. You are the audience. Does the Richard Burton, the actor on stage, care about anybody in that audience? No, he just wants the eyeballs looking on him. You know what I mean? That actor doesn't care about you. Listening requires allowing another person's experience to exist without immediately relating it back to yourself. It's a sentence I wrote down. And that's a fact. And they can't do that because that would require humility. If I'm gonna let you, if I'm gonna listen to you, I have to set me aside so I can really hear you. What are you saying? I can't be thinking about what I'm going to say next. The gears in my head can't be in motion if I'm truly going to be listening to you. I got to push the clutch in, come out of gear in my mind to really listen to you and to really hear you. And if you've ever done that with someone that you are close with, try that sometime. try as an exercise, try really listening to what someone is saying. It will blow your mind how much you and I, how much we miss. Other people communicate and we can't hear it because we're too busy. Okay, what am I going to say next? Okay, will you hurry up and finish talking so I can come on in? Right? That's the narcissist. That's what I'm trying to get across. So for me to really listen to you would require humility. So let me ask you, do narcissists, are they loaded with humility? Are narcissists the most humble people you've ever met? No, not hardly, right? Many narcissists have no humility, zero. They don't know what the word means. They wouldn't know it if it bit them on the elbow, right? Humility requires self-awareness. Narcissists have no self-awareness, none, right? Everything to them, again, is external. It's external. But without self-awareness, true conversation between two people, true discourse, it becomes just self-promotion. It's just them blabbing about themselves. Another thing I've noticed, many narcissists seem to be uncomfortable with the present moment. Instead of being right here, right now, they're already talking and thinking about next week, next month, next year, next holiday. I had a relative and narcissist, not a bad one. She was okay. And it'd be July and she'd be talking about Thanksgiving. Well, I'm going to have Thanksgiving at my house this year. And I'm like, it's effing July. Why in God's name is your mind focused on late third week of November? What the hell is wrong with you? You know what I mean? I'm telling you, these people are out on a 3-day pass. You know, they need to be locked up. They're crazy. The trouble is they've run out of room at the insane asylum, huh? The asylum is loaded up. Sorry, no vacancy. So they're something else. These people. The present moment asks us to meet ourselves. To a narcissist, that is not always comfortable. They can't meet themselves. They hate being with themselves. They hate being alone. They, you know, it's much easier to fill every quiet space with words for them than to let things settle and to just have some silence, right? Constant talking often signals something much deeper is going on. You know, next time you run into anybody who is constantly blabbing, that's emotional pressure. And that pressure and psychological pressure, that pressure has to go somewhere. You ever seen a pressure cooker? Maybe grandma used to cook in that thing and the steam would be coming out of it. That's what's going on inside of them. There's so much chaos, so much internal chaos, so much upheaval, so much that they're like, they're nuts. That all of that has to go somewhere. To a lot of them, for a lot of them, talking is that release. It's the release of the steam, just like the steam from the pressure cooker. Okay. So, you know, some people they enjoy telling stories. Not everybody is a narcissist. We don't have to go around labeling everybody. Some people are really good communicators. They tell excellent stories, and they're not a narcissist. They're just naturally outgoing. And some people, my friend John, I remember, John would get really animated. He'd get really excited when he was talking. John was quiet a lot, but when he spoke, he would really speak. But I don't think John was a hardcore narcissist. And so, you know, I'm saying there are differences. The pattern we're talking about is something else. conversation that always returns to one person. It always returns to them. That's your indicator. That's how you know. You're like, I just clocked you. Thanks for revealing yourself to me, because I just clocked you. Because narcissists are constantly talking about moi, themselves, right? And you are the audience. You're an audience of one, right? You're not even participating. You're just there. You are witnessing a performance, right? You find yourself, you just stop trying to contribute. You just go, okay, here it is. It's happening all over again. You stop sharing your experiences and you simply just wait for their monologue to end. Healthy conversation feels different, right? You talk, I talk. You say something, I say something. That's natural, normal, healthy conversation. Give and take, right? There's space between the words. Some reality, some present momentness can come into it. Both people part company feeling that they were heard. Each person was heard. So in the end, I don't think narcissists talk so much because they love conversation. They talk because conversation helps them maintain a version of themselves that they desperately need everyone, especially themselves, to believe. They're trying to shore up their fantasy world, and they do so when they, I almost said conversate, when they when they speak with me and you, right? The more self-aware we become, the less you and I ever need to dominate conversation, the less we ever need to impress somebody, the less we ever need to perform, the less we ever need to compete. If we're self-aware, would you ever compete with someone else? You wouldn't. You'd be so happy. You'd feel so good. You'd be like, oh, I feel so good. You wouldn't have any problems in the world. Not one, right? Awareness never needs to shout. Awareness simply sees. It just sees the way things are. I'm Jack Carter. Thank you for watching. Get a chance, drop by the website, take a peek at my Narcissism books and the other ones too. Those are 3 of the Narcissism books right there over my right shoulder on your left side. And jackcarterbooks.com, and I'll see you next time.